We've got some fresh
Hey,
new young
I'm Luis.
talent doing
And
some
I'm
things that I know you
Luis.
haven't
And you're
heard
listening to the
before.
Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques on how to create content that turns into profit from the top marketers in the world.
If you'd like to learn more on how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah.
That's right, guys. Even though today I mixed up the intro, we have an amazing show ahead. And today we're going to talk about how to acquire the advertising Midas touch.
Ooh.
For those that don't know what a Midas touch is, what is, Luis Daniel?
I'm going to let our guest explain why they give her that name. So, guys, before we get started, please go ahead and subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Make sure to follow us on social media at BIZBROS. Feel free to drop us a line. We've been having a lot of questions, awesome conversations, like we call them, content conversations. So feel free to join, especially on the live show. We love for you guys to be here if you are listening.
That's right, guys. And if you want to support Content is Profit podcast and the BIZBROS, please share and leave us a 5-star review on your favorite platform.
All right. So guys, one night, we got the chance to sit down at a round table with people from different backgrounds. All of them have been solving these massive problems and having great success with their businesses while creating a ton of impact.
That's right, guys. One of those people is today's guest. The rumor said that she has the Midas touch with Facebook ads. And OMG, they were right. She is now on a mission to stop inefficient Facebook ads by teaching entrepreneurs how to navigate the right metrics. Not to mention that her Marketing Matrix podcast hit number 18 in business entrepreneurship within 24 hours of launching.
She has helped several businesses cross the 7-figure mark with Facebook advertising, and after finally accepting our friend request, we discovered she was a drummer in the Super Bowl number 34 halftime show with Phil Collins. Talk about an experience.
That is amazing. Guys, please welcome the Facebook ads expert, Marketing Matrix podcast host, and the sworn enemy of worthless metrics, Miss Lisanne Murphy!
Welcome! Hey, welcome, Lisanne. Welcome to the show.
Oh, guys, thanks for having me. This is amazing. So excited to be here with you guys. Man, I feel like I just walked out on stage, on Oprah's stage for 40,000 people. That was amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Well, that means a lot to us. I mean, we really want to create those experiences, kind of like the one that you had in the Super Bowl. That was kind of super crazy, random, awesome fact that, you share with us.
Yeah, we reached out to Phil Collins and said, Phil, how can we get you in the show to bring Lisanne on the show, right? He didn't answer.
He didn't answer.
Yeah, but it's okay.
But it's okay. So for our audience, Lisanne, who's Lisanne? How do you get involved in this crazy digital marketing world? Why Facebook ads? And how did everything get started?
Yeah, I love that question, guys. And it's funny. I was actually just thinking about it this morning about how I actually really got my start, because with Facebook advertising, this is not my first online business. I've actually started 2 previous online businesses. Both were total flops. And I'll get to that in just a second. But I've always had this entrepreneurial desire. When I was a little kid, I used to take my allowance that I was earning and I would go buy candy from a gas station or from a grocery store, and then I would take it to school and I would sell it to my friends for a profit. And that was one of the first things I did. And then in middle school, when Titanic was popular, I was really into art. And so I would draw pictures of Leonardo DiCaprio and then I would sell them to my friends. And so, this is just being in the entrepreneurial world is something that has just always been really, really interesting to me. But I grew up in a very traditional family. And so I did the traditional thing. I went to school, I went to college, I went and I got a job, and then I went back to school, got a graduate degree and got another job. And I had a few entrepreneurial experiences throughout that. My first one is when I was in college. It was with a couple of friends. It was actually with Brooke Evans and Catherine Jones, who you guys know. But when we were in college, we wanted to help college students create more purpose in their life, because it's so common that people go to college and they're just taking classes and they don't know what they're doing. So we created this online course. But here's the thing, to do an online course, you need two things. You need money to buy it and time to complete it. And what are the two things that college students do not have enough of? Time and money.
Oh, yeah.
And
So we can definitely attest to that. Yes, 100%.
So that venture bombed big time, but we learned a lot. It was before ClickFunnels was even created, and so we were like building a course and our quote unquote funnel on WordPress, and so we learned a lot through that experience. That it was like, okay, well, we know that we have to consider our audience before we consider the product. And then in the middle of my master's program, I decided to start a real estate investing company. Yeah. And so from my past corporate job, I took every penny that I had, like every penny from my 401k, all my savings, I dumped it into this real estate investing job, and I didn't make a penny. I lost everything, and it was terrible. And the biggest issue that I had was that, like, no matter how great all the systems were that I set up, I didn't have leads. And so again, it was an audience problem. And so I was like, okay, the college students, we got the audience wrong. The real estate business, like, I couldn't figure out how to generate leads. And so for a long time, I thought, I just must not be cut out for this entrepreneurial thing. So I ended up in the corporate marketing world. I had this amazing job. I was working in marketing for a publishing company, and we did all kinds of marketing. We did email marketing, social media marketing, direct mailers, catalog, TV, radio spots, affiliate marketing. We were doing all kinds of marketing. And in that job, I discovered Facebook advertising, and I just became hooked, because with all of these, for the first thing, I was like, wow, if you can control Facebook ads, you can control the leads. And leads were my biggest struggles with my other businesses. And the second thing that I loved about Facebook is that because it's with direct response marketing, you have statistics to go along with it. So it's not just like where like you spend like a couple grand on mailers and radio spots, and like you just know that brand awareness is going to bring some conversions. But like with Facebook, you know where every single penny goes, and it just fired me up. And so I bought every course that I could find. I asked any friend that I had that had ever bought a course that had a Facebook module, and I said, can I have your login to go see what's in there? And I just like did everything I could to learn it. And I got a great coach who did marketing with Billie Jean is marketing. And so I had like some of the top advertisers teaching me what was up, and just really fell in love with this skill. And so, but it was like, it was one of those things. Have you ever had something where like you love it so much that like you don't necessarily think that it could be a job? It's just like kind of like a cool hobby. Like, so that's what Facebook ads were for me. Like I was just kind of running ads for some friends on the side and teaching some people. But at the time I was applying to go get my PhD, and it was actually Brooke was like, you're really good at this. Like, this isn't just like a fun thing. Like, you're really good. Like, can I help you start a business with this? And I was just like, I don't know. I mean, my corporate job's pretty good. I'm applying for PhD programs. And she's like, no, you need to do it. So she and Catherine helped me launch my first coaching program with Facebook. Wow. And within a week, I pulled in 12K of clients that I started working with, and their businesses just exploded. And I was like, whoa, like this could actually be a business.
Yes.
And so I started flirting with it more seriously, and eventually ended up not applying for PhD programs, left my corporate job, started the Facebook advertising coaching business, and then eventually the agency. And it was just amazing, like how it just grew by word of mouth. And everyone that came in was just learning so much about funnel strategy and statistics and Facebook marketing and how to do it all well, and how to bring in the desired customers. And so really people started to say like, okay, you've got a golden touch with this. Like every time you touch a business, it turns to gold. And then I was just like, the Midas touch, baby.
There we go.
That's how the Midas touch came about. So I've been doing this for full time for a couple years now.
Amazing.
And it has just been a joy and a blast, and just growing in the community, and since started the podcast and all that. So yeah, it's just been a really, really fun thing, and it's been great to be able to share a little bit with you.
I feel like we could end the episode right here. That's it. Like, that was such a cool story.
That was such a cool story. Yeah, and I bet it must feel so rewarding for you, being able to generate leads and help other businesses grow. Like that must feel really good with yourself, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. And really, it's just like when I was 9 years old, I was up sick one night, and my mom said, "Lisanne, what do you want to be when you grow up?" And most 9-year-olds, they have some idea, and it's usually not what it turns into, but they have some idea. And I said, "You know what, Mom? I don't know, but I know that I want to help people." And I've just always had that drive. And so like every time a business owner's eyes light up because their dream is coming to fruition and Facebook advertising is helping them get in front of eyes that they wouldn't be able to get in front of unless they were paying for those eyes, it's so rewarding. I love it. I love helping businesses grow with Facebook ads.
That's awesome. Something that I actually took out from your story too is how organic your journey as an entrepreneur has been. And I think that is, I don't want people to mistake this for like how easy you had it. Because I mean, you just said it, you went through a lot of challenges, but I see it as the fact that like you've been curious your whole life, right? Like, how can I help people, right? Like starting with the candy, and then in college, like partnering up with your friends, see like how you can bring the most value to people, right? And eventually stumbling upon Facebook ads, and like that curiosity of always like, oh, what is this next thing? How can I make it better? How can I help people with this? So I encourage a lot of people that are listening to this, because they might be, thinking, what can I do? What can I do to make money? Or what can I do to whatever, right? And maybe they're asking themselves the wrong question. Maybe they're going through a path of like, I'm going to find something that, yes, maybe it gives me a little extra income, but it's going to not make me happy enough. But I feel like you following your curiosity and answering those questions by yourself, it just like takes you to a whole nother level of satisfaction for what you're doing. It's awesome.
Yeah, well, absolutely. And here's the thing is like, I just did a post on my Facebook profile within the last couple of weeks where I actually talked about how hard I've been on myself my whole journey, because I've done everything, guys. Like I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the public sector, I've worked for corporations, I've worked for nonprofits, I've done entrepreneurial, I've done work. I worked for myself, like teaching private lessons for drumming. I mean, like I even like right before I served a full-time mission for my church, I was a mattress salesperson. And I mean, I've done like and when I was a teenager, I used to sell unicycles. Like I've done some crazy random stuff. And like my whole journey, I always was beating myself up being like, man, why can't I figure this out? Like I keep choosing the wrong thing. I keep not having success. And it was incredibly, incredibly frustrating. And it wasn't until honestly the last few years, and even a little bit before my Facebook journey, but even probably the last 5 years, where I'm like, you know what? Every single thing builds on each other, and nothing is ever wasted if you are trying to learn and gain a new skill and put value to the people around you. And now, like one of the reasons why I'm such a great Facebook marketer is because I spent so much time in my master's degree studying human behavior. It's because I spent time being a salesperson with mattresses and learning how to read people's body language and their cues. It's because of all of these experiences that it enables me to be unique in the marketplace. And so we should never beat ourselves up, because it all plays a role in our bigger purpose.
Yes, that is a great lesson.
I absolutely love that. And especially, you mentioned in the story, like I didn't know like the audience, like in a couple like those businesses that you tried, and then tying it down to you like being so proactive at learning and having all these experiences to where you changed your perspective. And lately we've been talking a lot about everything is a matter of perspective, right? And once you took that approach, it looks like you really found your passion, because it didn't matter like if you made a lot of mistakes, or it's like it's fine, it's like it's part of the path. So with a lot of the people that we work with, even business owners, especially with the brick and mortars, once they start to get into this online, game, especially with content, you have to be in front of a camera at some point, and that like triggers like some inner like demons, I guess. Like it makes you face yourself. So what would be like some advice for those people that are facing something that's scary? For you was maybe something new that you were trying once, and then second, and then a third time. What would be your advice to those people that want to take either their content or their marketing or their strategies to the next level, but they don't quite know how to tackle that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, I will say this. So last year for me, entrepreneurship was really hard because I was having a lot of personal demons. I had, over the course of my master's program and my corporate job, I was just not taking care of myself at all. I was incredibly overweight. I wasn't sleeping the way I needed to. Like, my diet was just terrible. And so, like, when I left my corporate job and I was trying to be amazing in this entrepreneurial realm, because I wasn't taking care of myself, like, I just kind of sucked. Like, I just kept hitting these ceilings where, like, I just, like, couldn't break past them. And it was frustrating because I was like, what is in my head is not reflected in the lives that I want to impact and the bank account that I'm trying to achieve. And it was just so frustrating for me. But I just felt really, really strongly that I needed to focus on me. And so I got really, really serious about my body and about reducing stress, getting enough sleep, changing my diet. And last year I lost 70 pounds. And like, I called it like my amazing, right? Like, I called it like my year of restoration. It was like I like reclaimed me. And ever since that, I've been able to succeed much greater in entrepreneurship. But the point is this: when I was at Funnel Hacking Live this past year, I was thinking about my journey that I had of weight loss and reclaiming myself, and I didn't document any of it. Like, I wrote about it in my journal personally, but like, I never like put myself out there and like wrote on my Facebook profile or talk about it on my podcast or like whatever. Like, I really like kept it to myself. And everyone, like, because I'd been in that community, those that had known me over the year, when they saw me that next year at Funnel Hacking Live, they like, I literally had some people like Anthony Golden, Myron Golden's son. He didn't recognize me. He introduced himself to me and I said, I'm Lisanne. And he was like, what? Like, he was like, he had no idea. He was like, no, like, it's impossible, because he hadn't seen me since the journey. And I just, all Funnel Hacking Live, I was like, oh my, I can't believe I didn't document anything. But like, I mean, everything happens for a reason, but like, it taught me a big lesson. Like, in the moment I was regretting it, I was like, I wish I would have shared the struggles. I wish I would have shared the days where like I was literally in tears because it was like so hard, or like when I didn't feel like I was making any progress. Now, being on the other side of it, I'm like, that's the most amazing journey ever. I'm so grateful. I'm so pumped, you know? And so like, I made a commitment like at Funnel Hacking Live to be like, I can't treat my business the same way that I treated my health journey. I need to document it. I need to dig in. I need to lean in. I need to get over myself and just know that like by documenting, I'm going to be grateful, but I'm also going to touch more people along the way, because there are more people that are having the same struggles as I am. And so I think that we often let things get in the way of like, well, I don't know how, or like the best platform, or how do I structure my content, or I don't have a team behind me to make sure it's great. Like, who cares? Like, just do it. Just get out there and start doing it, because it's by doing it that you're going to learn. It's by doing it that you're going to start influencing people, and you'll figure it out along the way. Like, I was interviewing someone on my podcast this morning who is a YouTube content guy. And as he told his story, like the whole time he was just like, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just like, did my best. And then I saw a YouTube guy and he was doing something. So I was like, I wonder if I could try that. And then he added this to his business. And like, now he has over 150,000 subscribers, over 200 million views. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's just like, it's just because he was just like, I'm just gonna try it, you know? So
yeah, I think a lot of people get focused in the how-tos, right? Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? Just like you were saying. And I mean, at the end of the day, that process that you just described and putting yourself out there, it's and we talked this with Steve Larson, right? He said that you open like a kind of inner worms that are like, whoa, like what is happening, right? Go, like it's a incredible transformation. And so like there's a few points here that I really like what you were mentioning, your story. And first is, this is a phrase that I heard when I was a kid. They taught me that they taught it to me at school, and it is, you need to help yourself before you can help others, right? But we are often taught we need to always help others and like, you know, like put others before yourself, which obviously is not a bad thing. But sometimes if you're all messed up inside, if you know, like if you're not happy with yourself, if you're not at peace with yourself, it's going to be very difficult to offer the help the other person needs. So that's why I love I think you call the year of restoration.
Yeah.
I love that story because it paints that picture for people that you help yourself first. You help yourself get to this, not only physical healthy state, but like a mental state where you were happy with yourself, you were at peace with yourself, and then you can say, okay, now I can give back, and now I can put other people and help them, right? So I think that is amazing for people that are struggling to get in front of the camera, right? And I'm looking over here, just so you know, Lisanne, because we got the camera on Facebook going. But for the people that are struggling, telling themselves, like, I'm not good on the camera, she said that she didn't know who can help, right? But by putting herself in front of the camera, she was creating that opportunity of helping someone. And there's people that are having a journey that they can relate to your previous journey. And that makes you unique. That makes you different, right? And that can actually help you create your own audience. So again, thank you for sharing that. That was an amazing lesson that I really hope people that are watching and listening to this, they're writing down right now.
Yeah, and just so you know, we need to find a picture of you because you have to show that journey to other people. Like if it's not a wound, if it's a scar, we talked about this the other day too, but congratulations on that.
Yeah,
that's amazing. And yes, we can't wait to see your entrepreneurial journey, obviously develop. So with that being said, you have a podcast and you ranked big time. Tell us a little bit, how was that decision of starting a show? Because, having the power of that platform and connecting with a lot of people is something that, we've been doing lately. And it has been an absolute joy.
Yeah, we describe it as our game day.
Our game day, So tell me, you coming from often what we've seen is like the people that talk about ads. They don't really like, the organic side.
They're a little bit more behind the scenes.
They're a little bit more behind the scenes. So I found very interesting that you're obviously investing your very valuable time in creating this show, this platform, this podcast. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I am a huge student of Russell Brunson and Steve Larson, as are you guys. And, Russell is just constantly saying like, publish, 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 as is Steven, right? They say like all of your business woes can be solved with publishing is like essentially like what they're saying. And so like, I really struggled with what platform to put content out. So I've tried a little bit of everything. I was like, well, I like to write. And with writing, I can think more about what I'm saying. So I'm going to blog. So I started a blog for a while, but then, and a medium.com channel with putting articles. And like after about 3 articles, I was like, whoa, this is hard. And like no one's reading it. And like, this is just rough. And then I was like, okay, well, like this is so silly. Let's just speak. It'll be faster. So like I was like, let's start a podcast. So I started a small podcast on anchor.com and it was called Achievement Empire, and it was all about motivation. I was sharing my journey, and again, like no one was listening to it, and so I just like gave that up. And notice I'm kind of a snob. I'm like, if no one's reading it, then why the heck would I do it? If no one's listening to it, then why would I do it?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'm so silly. Like, I'm a Facebook person. I need to be doing Facebook Lives and be on Facebook because that is my platform, and that's where my agency work is. So I started doing lives, but I just felt silly. I was just like, I'm just talking to myself, and people are getting on and commenting, but nothing really, and I just didn't really stick, and nothing really was getting traction in my business. And so finally I was just like, oh, okay, I need to stop starting a bunch of things instead of following through. I need to pick something and follow through with it. Yeah. And I started seeing a lot of my friends had these podcasts, and they would bring people onto the podcast, and it was a great networking tool for them to be able to get to know people in their space and tap into their Dream 100, but also practice telling their story. Mm-hmm. And I was like, maybe I'll give the podcast another whirl. And then Steve Larson talked about at his event before Funnel Hacking Live how the podcast is like the hub for all of his content, and then he repurposes that content across the different social channels. And I was like, I bet I could do that. And so in November, and this was before Steve was even really talking about this, but in November, I decided to, just this past year, I decided to start a podcast that was marketing centric, and that I could bring people on to get leads for my agency, as well as eventually monetize the audience. And I spent the first day I decided to run a podcast. It was the very beginning of November. And I spent 6 hours just researching where to host the podcast. Like, was it Podbean? Was it Libsyn? Was it Simplecast? Like, was it Anchor? Like, where is it? And I was so frustrated after 6 hours of researching and still not having an answer of just where to host the dang thing. I was like, I got to get help. This is just ridiculous. And so I knew that my friend Jamie Atkinson had the podcast Profit Lab, and that he helped people start podcasts. So I messaged him because we were both in the 2 Comma Club coaching program. And I said, Jamie, I want to start a podcast, but I have no idea what to do. And he was like, well, that's interesting because I know exactly what to do. And so I was like, just if you can answer this one question for me, I'll join your program. And he was like, what? I was like, where do I host my podcast? And he was like, that's so easy. You do it with Simplecast. And I was like, oh, okay, well, thanks for solving that for me. And he was like, we'll help you so much more with your podcast. Will help you outline exactly what the purpose of it is and how to get guests and how to get it on iTunes and how to monetize it and all that stuff. And I was like, great. So I joined his program in the beginning of November. It was in his second cohort that he took people through. And so my launch date was December 2nd, 2019. And I'm the type of person that, like, when I decide something, I like give it everything, like not just flirting like I had talked about with the other things, but like give it my all.
How it should be. Yes,
exactly. And so I made up my mind. I had seen Allison Prince had just released her podcast, and she had hit number 9 in a few business categories. And I looked at her podcast, and she had almost 200 ratings and reviews. And I was like, that's it? That's all it takes to get in the top 10? I was like, I can do that. Like, I can get those like 200 ratings and reviews. I was like, I have way more friends on Facebook. If I can even just get like 10% of them to like give me a rating and review, I can do it. And so I like just dove deep into this content marketing and launch strategy for my podcast. And I just messaged everyone that I knew. And like, if I had some sort of conversation with someone in the last 6 months, I just said, hey man, can you help me out? And what I didn't realize is like, because I had been running the agency, I wasn't focused on building an email list. So I didn't have a list. I had like 25 people on my entire email list. So it wasn't like I could grab like 200 reviews from my email list. And so I was messaging people, I was creating free content, and I was dropping it on my profile, and I was just like, hey, if you want this freebie, here it is, but I'm doing it because I'm launching this podcast. Like, would you be willing to rate it? I'll remind you the day of. And so I just built all this hype around the podcast. And it's centered around marketing. And we're on the show, we talk about what are the small marketing strategies and tactics that are making the biggest difference in real businesses. Like, we're not talking about theory. We're talking about like what is working in real business right now. And it just like caught like wildfire. And when I launched, within 24 hours, it had hit number 18 in business entrepreneurship. And it was crazy. I mean, like my podcast for that day, like it soared past Russell Brunson's Marketing Secrets podcast. And I was just like, dude, like when it hit like number 34 and like Russell's was like 38, I like took a screenshot of my podcast at like right above Russell's, you know?
That's amazing.
And then it just like kept climbing in the charts. And yeah, so I felt really, really blessed, and people just have responded really, really well to it. And I've gotten some really good feedback from listeners. So it's been a great journey.
Yeah, that sounds great. And I mean, I think we've talked about this in the show before, that we tell people, because they don't know where am I going to go with my platform? Like what platform am I going to pick, right? And I mean, some people say do whatever makes you more comfortable. If it's writing, if it's, talking on camera, or just talking for the podcast. I love the fact that you dabble here and there, right? Again, I think that curiosity factor that you have since you were a kid is helping you out, because you're trying all these things, but when you find the right thing, you're just putting 100% of your focus on that, and putting your full effort in making it work. And we often talk about the minimum viable content, right? Like, what is that one thing, the minimal effort that you need to put to obtain the best results, right? To find your minimal viable content, you need to dabble in certain things. Sometimes you need to be curious, try a few things until you say, okay, this is the one. Now, how can I make it work, right? Like, I'm not putting my focus in all 20 other platforms. I'm just going to focus on this one and make it work. So I honestly think your whole story is a testament to that, which is amazing. The other thing that I love, the other thing that I love is you mentioned that you will bring people into the podcast and maybe get some leads out of that, right? I love that fact. And for people that are listening, right, if you have a business, it's an amazing strategy because I'm going to be 100% honest, right? Like, in part, that's what we are doing as well, right? We're like, what people, obviously, we want to build our network, which is an amazing tool, podcast, but at the same time, it's like, how can we leverage our platform? How can we leverage our message to at the same time use it to help grow our business, right? So it's just win-win situations everywhere.
Yeah, there's so many like pluses, you know, because even with like brick and mortars, like you need to have that platform. And if you guys haven't checked out the Traffic Secrets book, please go ahead and check it out because they explain this, you know, step by step. But it's the fact that you can, first off, work on your message. You can try your message out with different audiences. See who responds to it. See if you're actually adding value. At the same time, you're adding value to your guest because you're presenting them into your audience.
Yep.
You know, it is so many benefits of doing something like this. And then from that spot, how can you maximize the impact afterwards? Not only with your audience, but again with your guests and with the next people that are coming in. So thank you for sharing your story because
I'm pretty curious. I'm pretty curious right now. Let's say each one of us, which one is our favorite benefit of having this platform, right? The podcast. Like, what is your favorite benefit from it?
From the podcast? 100% the networking of the guests. 100%. I mean, I've been able to get the attention of people in my Dream 100 that I never would have been able to because one, I have a podcast, but then two, because it hit number 18 in business entrepreneurship. Yeah. It's opened doors and it's allowed me to be able to start conversations that before, like I wouldn't have anything to even start a conversation about with. So it's been awesome.
That's true. What about you, Luisa?
Dude, I mean, Lisanne just took the number one across the list.
You can repeat, that's fine.
Well, first off, the networking, and, you know, it allowed us to have what we call content conversations. And it is something that, you know, developing relationships, not only with the Dream 100s, but also with the audience as well. So it opened many, many, many doors. I think the message has been a big one because for us, we've been preaching content for so long, but we never like been so in front of the camera because we committed. We're doing 3 episodes, 3 Facebook Lives every single week, you know? And that's just one show and we have 2 shows. And so it's like, okay, this is how many points of contact can I create with my audience that I can also utilize to practice on my craft and my message. So it's like, okay, let's cramp up, you know, a year full of episodes in literally like a month. So we can speed up this process even more. So I think that has been probably my favorite.
One of your favorite ones. Yeah, I think I'm with Lisanne in this one. I love the relationships that we've built with the podcast. Like, it's just absolutely mind-blowing, honestly. Like, I don't think we would have, you know, have, like, Steve Larson, Marley Jacks, even you, Lisanne, right? Like, it would be way more difficult to connect with you guys. And the platform, obviously, like, it is still business, right? Like we are, you know, like showcasing you to our audience and all that. But at the same time, like we're connecting and we're building a real relationship, which makes it so much more fun and so much more exciting to come back to film and record the next episode.
Yeah, so for those listening, please listen to Lisanne because coming from her that has been in this journey for so long, she decided on that platform. And again, try what works for you, you know, and then try to boost it with those other elements that we've been talking about. I would like to transition the conversation a little bit more because like once you start creating that content, you start getting that momentum and so on, you know, we often say, okay, what's next, right? Once you create that baseline of content creation, I'm building my habit, I'm being consistent, I'm being frequent, how can then utilize what you do best with Facebook ads to start boosting that content or expanding that audience, right? So is this something that you knew from the very beginning or is this something that you're implementing now? Is that something that you do with your clients? You know, tell us a little bit more about, you know, what the next step is. Yeah,
that's a really great question. And it's a really interesting one. It's one that I wrestle with all the time because so just to kind of give you, I love how you say like, what's the next step? Because I launched my podcast in early December. And what I didn't realize is like, how much I would love the podcast, and then I like brought this creature to life that like now demanded to be fed. And so it required, you know, bringing on more guests and editing, and pretty soon I was like, well, I'm not even gonna have time for my agency, like with all the time the podcast is taking. And so I hired an editing team and then a podcast manager. And then when I saw Steve talk about the podcast content machine, I was like, okay, I need to figure out how to get it onto other channels. And so actually just in the last 2 weeks, we've started repurposing my podcast episodes and putting an audiogram on YouTube. We're creating a blog article for my website. We're creating a Medium article for Medium. We're creating an article for LinkedIn. We're creating posts for Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. And that's just started happening within the last couple of weeks. But it's made me really nervous because like as a paid advertiser, I understand when I spend $1 here, like where it's going. Whereas like when I invest in my team right now, like for like 3 months when I was building out all these systems, like nothing was coming in directly. And I was like, what am I doing? Like right now, like my podcast is just like a really expensive hobby. Like this is just like kind of crazy. And I've been really nervous about it, but like for whatever reason, I've just like felt inspired to continue to like push it. And it's like, you know, I know that Steve Larson wouldn't spend 20 grand on his podcast content machine unless it was like bringing back that, if not more,
exactly.
You know?
For sure.
And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm just going to keep pushing. And I was just in the last couple of months, to just full transparency, just like really struggled with it and just like, man, do I just kill it? Do I kill it? Like, what do I do? Like, I'm making lots of great friends, but like they're expensive friends, you know? And like for me, like to produce a podcast episode, because I don't do any of the editing or anything right now. I mean, like it cost me like about $300 to produce an episode between the editors and the podcast manager and all that. And it's just like, holy moly, like that is just expensive. Like my friends are expensive, you know? And, but I have recently kind of pulled back into Facebook and started doing a lot more organic posting. And for the last 2 weeks, I've posted consistently in my Facebook group and on my Facebook profile. And in the last 2 weeks, the revenue in my agency has doubled.
Wow.
And it's all from people who I had brought on my show, my podcast, and then they saw a post about some testimonial or something I was learning or something I was experiencing on my profile, and it made them remember the show, remember what I do with podcast, or remember what I do with Facebook ads. And at the time it wasn't right because they didn't have a launch or whatever they were doing. But now they're like, hey, Lisanne, I've got a launch in 2 weeks. Lisanne, I have a launch next week. Can you help me with my Facebook ads? And so I become top of mind. And literally, and so now I'm like seeing the power of this organic strategy of like, you know, bringing people on the podcast and then staying in their mind with my content creation organically. And like all of a sudden it's just turned into like an amazing synergy that literally within the last 2 weeks, I've doubled my revenue. It's unbelievable.
That deserves that, because that's amazing. And, you know, coming... Like I said before, you know, when we listen to the Facebook experts, right? It's like, okay, it's like, oh, you mentioned at the very beginning, direct response. And then, but what's after? Like, I feel like, this is my very personal opinion. It feels like a very empty, hollow machine if you only do paid. And it's for reasons that we kind of talked about it. And Lisanne, again, like if you're against this, go ahead, because I love to have this conversation. But you said it just right there, that is helped to. And for us, we, just to be completely honest and transparency, we do not invest 1 cent in Facebook ads yet. It's coming.
It's coming, yeah.
It's coming, but it's like the benefit on the organic and these relationships, like real relationships, has helped a lot. And we have no doubt that as soon as we put that machine to work, together with the paid side of it, it's just gonna boost and just take off.
Yeah, I think it's a great foundation, right? Like building that organic, because again, you're not only building the relationships, you're kind of building your safety net of content. You're building yourself to be out there. It's just gonna make you way better, honestly, performing in front of the camera or even in sales calls, right? Like I've noticed it when I'm up in sales calls now, because of being used to talking to the camera, and I feel like way more confident now when I'm in a call with someone. So I can even imagine like what would happen after you have that foundation if you put the Facebook ads running behind it, right? So
Have
that's
you-
what I want to know.
Have you had an experience like that? Maybe, you know, for you it was kind of backwards, right? It was like the paid first and then the organic. Have you seen the other side where it was like you had a client that was doing organic and then they turn on this ads machine? And what-
Totally. I love this question very much. So here's the thing, guys. Like, there's always a mindset around any traffic strategy, okay? And like I don't know if you guys know who Alex Elliott is. Alex Elliott and I are really good friends, and she's huge with the organic marketing. And it's funny. She has come to me and she's like, I know that I need paid advertising, but I'm scared. I'm like really, really scared to do it because I feel like once I do paid, it's like, it means like I'm really out there and like I can't take it back. And I laughed so hard. She's like, why are you laughing at me? Like, this is not funny. Like, this is serious. And I sat back and I said, Alex, that's the whole reason why I've been resisting organic, is because I feel like once I do organic, like I'm really putting myself out there. And we realized that like we had the same mindset block about opposite traffic strategies. So here's the truth, is that paid traffic is incredibly, incredibly powerful, but it is expensive. It is expensive. And anyone that I have taken, and there's some people, like for example, like they don't necessarily want to be a huge personality online, and so they just do paid and they make great money. But like you have to have huge margins. Like usually it's only people that work with high ticket coaching that can do paid advertising only and not make money, or an e-commerce brand that's wildly successful. Like there's not a lot of e-commerce brands where they're an influencer as well. But with that said, I always tell my clients, like I always prefer to bring on clients into my agency that have an organic strategy and they're wanting to add the paid strategy, because it just turns into this like synergistic effect. It really just creates it's like you use organic strategies to like build the fire, put on the kindling, like get some oxygen in there and get the fire going. And then when you add paid, as long as that system is working organically, it's literally like you are putting rocket fuel onto it and it just goes like it just explodes. But where people often get a mistake is they say, oh, organic is just, it's too much work. I just want to go for paid. And they have maybe $5,000 set aside. And so they'll spend $5,000 to run some ads just to figure out that the system that they have is broken and it needs work. And that they have to actually go back and do some organic work to prove their offer and prove their concept to then turn back around and get to paid. So paid is a combination of it's jet fuel, but it also is data. If you need to know if your offer is going to work or not, you can figure that out in a couple months with organic, or you can figure it out in a couple days with paid.
I love it. I know in the intro you said you are the sworn enemy of that data that doesn't really work. It's so could you give us, or is this obviously this is something that obviously you do on your end, but what are a couple of things that people in the audience might be looking at, if they're starting to look into Facebook ads and be okay, this is really working, this is what I should be looking at, my organic is working now, what are the little things that they can start tweaking?
Yeah. So it's really important, if you're running organic traffic to an offer or some sort of funnel system, whatever your organic statistics are in terms of how many people hit the homepage versus then how many of those people opt in, right? And that's your landing page conversion. And then how many of those people from the sales page or from the webinar hit your order form or your application, and then how many people actually buy or finish the application to get on the phone with you. When you know what those statistics are, you can be sure that your cold traffic, your paid traffic, is going to perform less well. And you can also make predictions in terms of okay, if I estimate that my lead cost is going to be $10 per lead, if I look at my organic statistics and I'm okay, I've got a 20% landing page conversion and I have a 5% purchase rate from link click, then you can literally calculate how expensive it's going to be to acquire that client. And you can guess it without even having to run any traffic. So it's really important, these illustrations that I'm making is you can't just look at just the ads. You have to look at the ads as it's part of the funnel.
Exactly.
The whole funnel is from the second they see the ad all the way to fulfillment. And in my agency, I work with all of those statistics in between. And what we're actually doing is we're saying, where is the point of the greatest leverage that if we change this one piece, it'll change everything. So for example, with Facebook ads, one of the most important statistics is called the link click-through rate. The link click-through rate is the percentage of impressions that click through from your ad to your website. This is very important because Facebook is being very generous. They're saying, yes, I'm going to allow you to take my customer off of my platform onto yours. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
And so Facebook's letting you do that, and that's why you pay Facebook to let them do that for you. And so we know that a healthy link click-through rate is 1%. Okay, so that is 1% of every 1,000 people clicking through to your website. Now, if that is too low, then you know that there's a mismatch in the audience targeting or the messaging of the ad. And there's 3 things in an ad that you need to look at when it comes to link click-through rate. You need to look at the headline, the first 3 lines of copy, and the image or video that you've got there. And that is what's going to influence. And then the other piece outside of the ad is the targeting. You need to make sure that like you're putting the right message in front of the right people. But let's say your link click-through rate is 1%. If you even increase the link click-through rate to 2%, that's 1% increase. It doubles the amount of people that see your website and see your offer.
Wow.
So it's a huge lever, right? Because like a 1% change creates 100% difference in the people that actually see your offer. Does that make sense?
Oh, I love that 1% change. It's 100%.
We need golden nuggets just falling off the screen now.
We need to add some overlays here. Just like,
editor, please add the golden nuggets, please. Okay, thank you. That's amazing. That's such a powerful tip. And you know, for those listening, if you are in that stage where you need to scale your business, you've been playing with organic, you have your base, and you're ready for that rocket fuel, please go ahead and reach out to Lisanne, because like she really knows what she's talking about. She's working with amazing people. So amazing. Thank you.
I mean, and now they know what metrics to look into, right? Which is super amazing, super cool.
The reason we're looking down is because we're taking notes as we do this. So yeah,
we're doing our homework. We're like,
homework.
keep talking.
Okay.
We're like, yeah, we got this.
We need to do this for
well, once you get familiar with the statistics, there's only a couple things that you can change at each point, and it really becomes just easy. Like for example, like if you're comparing your link clicks to landing page views, like let's say you get 100 link clicks and only 80 people hit the landing page. That means that 100 people clicked from the ad, but only 80 people waited for the page to load.
Oh.
Right? So like 20 people were like, this website's taking forever to load. I'm out. Right? Because like people's attention span are so low. So like, you know that like a good retention rate is 90% and above. So if it's less, then you're like, okay, well, it's either 2 things. Like one, it's that you need to reduce the size of your images on your website, and so your website loads faster. Or 2, people for whatever reason are losing interest and they're not as hooked in the ad as they need to be to wait for that thing to load. And so they're not feeling that urgency to be like, oh, I really am interested in this.
Yeah.
And so like each conversion point from like the ad to the website and the landing page to the opt-in and to the opt-in page to the order form, each of those you look at, and there's only a few things to change in each place.
Yeah.
And so understanding those just makes all the difference in the effectiveness.
I really love how easy you're putting these concepts to understand. I'm sure there are so many more, but I'm gonna tell people go check her out, and I'm sure she is gonna teach you all that you guys need to know.
Yes, like this is so interesting to me because, you know, when we talk content, just being in front of the camera, right, it's like, okay, the camera is not right. It's like, well, probably the message is the thing that we need to be, you know, checking. Maybe the audience is the thing that we need to be like experimenting with. It might not be the camera. Like we've had crazy bad videos, to be honest. Like internet might not be working, it's choppy, but it is incredible because the message that's in there is what resonates, and you're taking that and applying also on the ad side. So we've been on the side with the brick and mortars that we used to work with in the fitness industry. It's like that ad is not working. Well, maybe we need to think about what comes after the ad, like you said, right? What is the conversations that we're having that maybe the ad is working, and by knowing those exact numbers or those factors, you can move that lever that you say and be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
So thank you for bringing that and putting it on the spotlight.
Yeah, kind of like don't just be reactive and like blame others for those mistakes, right? Like look into the machine, like what's happening,
What's
like
happening here.
And like you said, like that data is gonna tell you exactly what's happening if you know how to interpret it, pretty much.
Exactly. Yeah. Data is king. Data is absolutely
Data
king.
is king.
Content. Well, actually, we can make content is king, right? Content is king. We'll make data queen. How about
Oh,
that?
I like it.
Ooh.
All right, guys, we're dropping that merch soon. Stay tuned. We're gonna run it with all the data that we got on the ads. Lisanne, so we want to be respectful of your time. We're approaching the end of the show. I'm gonna put this out there already. We're gonna have to do a part 2 because we have so many more questions. But we love to leave people with some action points, right? Whether it's one thing that they can do to get better at when running their Facebook ads. Although, guys, go to Lisanne. But maybe, like, what is that one thing, that you think is going to set them up to success when they go work with you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So when you were asking it, I had two things come to my mind. The first thing is that you've got to get a grip of your numbers. I mean, like you've like touted me as like the metrics person, so I can't like not end on that. But I cannot tell you how many people that I talk to on a sales call when they're interested in working with me, and I ask them simple questions like, tell me, like, what is your current landing page conversion rate, or how many people have gone through your funnel so far, or and they're just like, I don't know. I just don't know. Or like, how much money are you making from your email list every month? Like, I don't know, and and like you have to get a grip of your numbers. Like if there's any confusion in your business, it's because because you're not understanding your numbers in some place. And if you did, you'd be able to make strategic data-based decisions. Because that data allows you to get out of your head and stop being emotional about your business and like just make a logical number-based decision, which is like so hard because like 90% of success in business is your head, because you have to like get out of it so that you can look at the numbers. But knowing your numbers really helps you and gives you the ability to get out of your head.
Awesome. I think that's oh, you had a second one, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
Second one.
Got it.
Then the second one, I mean, and going to what you guys were talking about with content, is that practice your content, practice telling stories, because like your ability to tell stories and convey messages and content in any platform, whether it's a podcast or a Facebook post or a live or whatever it is, it will translate to your ability to talk to people well in ads. Like hand over hand. Like if any client that I have that has experience with creating content, their ads come out of the gate way better than those that don't. 100%, like without question. So like know that your work to create content and practice that, as well as like it's that ability for you to like understand the type of people that interact with you and your brand, it all will make a difference when you're doing paid advertising.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Lisanne, thank you again for your time and sharing all these amazing gold. I feel the episode is like heavy, like value packed. Is so good. So we can't wait to like put this out. It's already out, obviously, because we're Facebook Live. Thank you. But put it on the platforms and let everybody get to know you. So Lisanne, how can people find you?
Yeah, well, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about that. So first of all, you can find my show and my podcast if you love podcasts and you want to learn more about marketing as well. I mean, these guys are the content gurus, so listen to everything they say. If you want to talk marketing nerdy with me and Facebook ads, you can go to the marketingmatrixpodcast.com. My social channels, I'm pretty active on Instagram and Facebook, so you can find me on Facebook at Lisanne Murphy and on Instagram at Lisanne Murphy HQ. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think those are the biggies. Oh, my Facebook group. If you want to like actually ask questions about ads, then come talk to me in my Facebook group. You can join that at www.facebook.com/groups/FB Ad Ninjas. So as in Facebook Ad Ninjas, FB Ad Ninjas. So yeah, come join me in the group. We'll have a conversation about it, and tell me what's going on with your ads, and I'd love to help.
That's awesome,
Yeah.
guys. You heard Lisanne. Go right now. Join her Facebook group. Follow her in all the social medias. Ask all the questions you may have because she is going to help you.
And with that being said, guys, thank you so much. Please do not forget to subscribe. Content is Profit Podcast, and find us on social media at the BIZBROS. Go. Let's talk all things content.
That's right, guys. Thank you so much.
We will see you Monday. We have an amazing shows. Actually, 2 shows.
All right, guys. We ran past the outro, so we'll
Yeah.
see you next one.
Bye.